Welcome back. Very good evening. If you've just joined us, you're watching a special broadcast here from the Results Operations Centre in the capital of South Africa. That's Pretoria or Tshwane. Now, our colleagues in the Eastern Cape are keeping a close eye on the province. It's supposed to be a very close race down there. Let's go to the IEC Results Centre in East London, where Thami Dickson is standing by. Good evening, Thami.
Good evening, Yeben. Thank you very much. And good evening to you as well from the Eastern Cape's main hub. That's the IEC's Results Centre here in East London. My name is Thami Dickson. Tonight, we'll be focusing at how the first day for special votes went in this province. Also looking at the IEC's logistics plan, which include access to voting stations, as well as the distribution of voting materials. But first, let's take a look at the opening of this provincial results Centre in this insert compiled by our reporter Olutu Matsipane.
The Eastern Cape has more than 3 million registered voters. The IEC has employed about 33,000 working staff, which include more than 4,000 presiding officers. Officials say they are satisfied with all the preparations.
We would like our facilities to indicate that we want to treat our people equally, at least on election day. They must feel that we have provided for them equally. That's why we go out of our way to make sure that the facilities that we provide at our voting station begin to express that.
SABC has deployed close to 12,000 police officers, and each voting station will be allocated 2 police officers. SABC says there are no red zones. However, more police officers will be sent to the 52 identified hotspots.
Where the intelligence structures are indicating that we have got moderate threats in certain areas. We don't have areas that has been flagged as red zones to us as the Prof joins, and we wish that we can keep it there. On that note, we declare ourselves available, all our people. We will be deploying and we will be making sure that this election is free and fair and that every person can go and cast his vote.
The IEC has more than 70,000 special votes, which will be conducted on Monday and Tuesday. Olutu Matsipane, SABC News in East London.
Now, that's our reporter there, Olutu Matsipane, giving us a sense of how things stand so with regards to the security, especially in this province, given that there's quite some number of hotspots in the province that have been identified, but we'll look at that as the week progresses. Now, we're going to turn our attention now to the Nelson Mandela Metro, as we know that it's one of the hotly contested municipalities in the province of the Eastern Cape. In fact, there are 19 political parties that are contesting for elections in that municipality, and the winner will manage a city budget that runs into billions of rands, as well as an economy driven by a massive car manufacturing industry, as well as a busy trade port. But they will have to deal with deep socio-economic issues that have troubled its residents since its inception. Now, our reporter Ivue Porti has been on the campaign trail that side, and today she looked at the high number of undecided voters who could influence the Metro's results.
The Nelson Mandela Bay Metro regularly saw party bigwigs move around the metro, garnering support, capturing the undecided vote part of the drive. Door-to-door campaigning formed a strong part of the electioneering mix, getting in touch with voters on the ground. But only the election results will reveal which party was successful.
We don't know where that undecided vote is going to go to. Will it go to the ANC almost as, well, let's give you another chance and see? Will it go to the DA as a means of, well, let's give you a chance and see? Or will it be divided amongst the smaller parties?
Another school of thought is that the high number of undecided voters is a consequence of uncertainty.
I think those people might they are historically ANC votes. Because if you don't like the ANC, you don't like the ANC. That's quite clear, and it becomes quite clear from early on. These are people perhaps who've been checking out the ANC, who are not sure whether the ANC is still worthy of their vote, especially because of the troubles that have been happening around nominations. I mean, 2-3 weeks ago, the ANC had not put up its own posters.
Political parties will continue to do the groundwork in areas where they think they can sway people.
Well, now we're going to look quite sharply now in some of the issues that came out of that insight, including the campaign that took place in the Nelson Mandela Metro. I'm joined now here on the set by Professor Jolene Cotter-Steyn. The political analyst is going to be our resident analyst here on the set throughout this broadcast, as well as throughout just this week as we look at the elections. Jolene, the campaign has quite been intense in the province. What did you pick up?
Well, you know, I think one picks up that there has been a very aggressive campaign from the DA, really going out, starting early, 60 wards in 60 days and so forth. Yeah. But at the same time, we've also seen an ANC going almost in it to win it, especially with restructuring the bureaucracy and the administration with the deployment of Mayor Danny Jordan.
Right, right. Now, when you look at the province, I mean, there's 3.3 million registered voters in the province, but when you look at that vis-a-vis the campaigning of political parties, where was their main focus? Were they after just the two metros in the province, or they were also looking at the rural votes as well?
No, I think inevitably one would have had campaigns in the rural areas as well. I think because the Nelson Mandela Bay in particular has almost captured the national imagination as a hotly contested area, a lot of media focus on that particular metro, of course at the cost potentially, you know, for your more rural vote as well as the Buffalo City municipality.
Right, right. Today was the special votes, first day. Obviously the Eastern Cape had picked up some problems, especially in the northern parts of the province, where there were community protests, where there were also rain issues as well. And then what do you make of this? Could it have a potential perhaps to disrupt the elections on Wednesday?
We have seen in the past that community protests, you know, in some hotspots do tend to go along with elections as well. You know, in the past we had seen communities trying to block ways to voting stations and so forth as a way to show their dissatisfaction around issues of mediocre service delivery and so forth.
Okay, let's hold it there for a minute. In our coverage, we will also be looking at both the rural and urban areas. Our reporter, Unati Pingose, who will be stationed in the rural areas of Stagspread, compiled this profile of the Eastern Cape for us.
A province known more for its shortcomings in certain key areas, particularly health and education, but one with a very proud political heritage. Its contribution in the fight against colonialism and the apartheid system is undeniable. It boasts traditional leaders who fought the wars of land dispossession and the well-documented role of politicians and even religious leaders in the liberation struggle.
Your John Knox Bokwe, you know, your Mzimba in Alice, you know, PJ Mzimba in Alice. These are some of the leaders, the religious, your Tia Soga, the father of black consciousness, you know. These are some of the leaders who were very much involved, you know, in using, you know, call it religious platforms to challenge, you know, apartheid.
In the academia, out of the country's 25 tertiary institutions, 4 have found home in the Eastern Cape. Regarded as one of the leading African universities, Forte is currently celebrating its 100 years of existence. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe, a former student himself, had kind words to describe this institution. But it's not all covered in glory. The province is desperately trying to turn its fortunes around. From being perennial underachievers in education, battling with corruption and poverty, and is working to become a meaningful economic role player. Much of that rests on tourism and agriculture and the 2 IDZs.
We have seen in the province how both industrial zones have made a huge contribution at the value which passes 23 billion rand in the past year. That has resulted into operational jobs which were above 8,000 jobs, which are sustaining our own communities out there.
Most of those jobs are within renewable energy and aquaculture, among other sectors. With a coastline stretching over 800 kilometers, punctuated by no less than 2 harbors, it is fair to say, with proper planning and good execution, the Eastern Cape should be up there among the leading contributors in the country's economic basket. Another reason why the 2 metros will be hotly contested in the upcoming local government elections. Unati Pingose, SABC News, Eastern Cape.
Well, with that insight, looking at the profile of the Eastern Cape and some of the interesting stuff that I think will have an impact on the elections going forward. And well, that's what we have time for tonight, and hopefully we'll meet again tomorrow morning.
The IEC Results Centre down in East London. Yes, we've got centres all over the country. We'll be